Everything you need? It is 7 o'clock on Wednesday, June 8th, and we will call the special meeting of the Sault Ste. Marie City Commission to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Gary.
Here.
Commissioner Bauer.
Here.
Commissioner Bospis Rath.
Here.
Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Talentino.
Here.
Commissioner Twardy.
Here.
Everybody's in attendance. If everybody could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, everybody. I'm going to skip mayor comments and general announcements, and we will move right into the content of this meeting. So, under B, special orders of business, City Manager Chapman is going to outline the process for us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So tonight we will be interviewing the 4 candidates to replace to fill the vacant commission seat. Each of the commissioners have a packet of questions as well as each of the applicants' application. What we'll do is kind of a round robin around the dais. One person will ask a question. We'll have the 4 applicants at the table. The person on the far left will answer first. We'll go down the line. The second question will be asked, the second person, and then we'll kind of go around. So the first person will answer the first question, second person answers the second one, and then, so on and so forth. So, at the end of this, so we'll go through our questions. Each commission has a packet with the questions. Each question has kind of a scoring table if you want to use that to help you gather your thoughts or keep track of them. There's plenty of space in there to write your thoughts as well. At the end of the interview process, each commissioner will have an opportunity to kind of discuss who your primary pick was or anything you're thinking or any thoughts in that nature. We'll kind of go around the dais. You'll each have an opportunity. We'll kind of see where we're at, and then at that point, we'll probably look for a motion to appoint, and then a second and a final consideration. So, anything that kind of summarizes it, Mr. Mayor?
Very good, yep. Any questions about the process, Commissioner Miller?
I have a question about our timeline.
Yes, sir.
When do we have to? We accepted Mr. Collins' resignation, almost 3 weeks ago?
Yep, we're hoping to
With the
select.
city charter, we have 30 days?
We select tonight.
We select tonight?
Yep.
Yep.
If it takes till midnight, we select tonight.
I understand. But how many days do we have left?
Just a
Until
few.
until the 15th is the 30th, or the 30-day timer.
Thank you.
Yep, good question. Any other questions about process? So what we'll have the candidates do, we have Stephen Habusta, if you'll start on where the jug is there. And Scott Marble next to him, Rick Miller, and Andrew Rubenstein. These are in no particular order, but we will give everybody a chance to answer the question first. The microphones, there's a little button in the middle that says push. When the light is green, it's hot, so everybody on cable can hear it. So when you're done with your answers, turn it off.
And we are broadcasting it, so try to share the mic between the two of you and just make sure, if you have to move it so you can talk, to make sure everybody's hearing you as well.
You do realize, though, this is alphabetical order.
What is?
Habusta, Marble, Miller, Rubinstein.
Yeah, but we're gonna do a rotating.
Okay,
I
I thought you said
Yeah.
that it was in no particular order.
Okay, it's in alphabetical order. You probably already figured that out. I don't know my alphabet yet, so by last name and not first name.
Right, my last name.
Okay. And so, as the city manager said, we are going to begin the questioning, and we're going to go from our left to right. So, Commissioner Bauer will begin.
Sure.
Pardon?
You guys want to just do an introduction real quick? Have them do an introduction real quick?
Yeah, sure. Why don't we?
All right. Do you want
yeah.
to moderate that part? Or?
Sure. So, just for everybody's information, there was an application process that everybody filled out, and it was posted on the city's website, siouxcity.com, if you're watching on TV, so you can go in and look at their application information. All of us at the Diaz have a copy of that, but if you wouldn't mind doing a quick introduction of yourself, Don't go too deep into why you want to be here, because that might be one of the questions that we ask you, but maybe a quick introduction. And you go ahead and flex the microphone to you when you start, so.
So, my name is Steve Augusta.
Yeah. Whoop.
Am I good now? Perfect. Name is Steve Augusta. I first moved to Sault Ste. Marie in 1998. I spent 5 years away and I have been back now for about 6.5 years. I have 4 kids and a beautiful wife, and I'm just passionate about serving this community.
Thank you.
I'm Scott Marble. I was born and raised in Sault Ste. Marie. I've lived here for almost 49 years. I have worked in the public for the last 31 years. I'm very, very close to my family. I have tons of friends, and it's an honor to be here.
Thank you.
Hello, hello? You hear me? All right. I'm Rick Miller. I grew up in this community. I was born and raised out in Barbeau, and I moved into the city after I got out of the military when I was about 22, 23. I went to Lake Superior State University, where I got an engineering education, Bachelor's of Science in Mechanical Engineering. And I worked outside the Sioux down in Detroit for a little while, doing engineering work, and now I've moved back to the Sioux here. So I'm interested in getting into the community and offering up my skills and abilities and doing the best job I can for City Commission.
Thank you.
My name is Andrew Rubenstein. I'm originally from Birmingham, Michigan. Moved to the Sioux here just shy of 3 years ago. Met my wife Marnie about a decade ago. She's originally from Sault Ste. Marie. Bounced all around the country. Have a 1 and a 3-year-old, and I'm excited to be back here and by family.
Thank you very much, everybody. Any other? Okay. So we will start with the round robin questions, and first one goes to Commissioner Bauer.
Thank you.
And we'll start with Stephen Augusta.
Question number 1. Does your interest in serving on the city commission stem from a personal interest or goal? It's actually a two-parter, so I can give you both parts now, or
Sure.
Part 2 of that question, is there something in particular you hope to accomplish while serving on the city commission, and why is serving on the commission important to you?
Thank you, Commissioner. Just to begin with the first part, why am I interested in serving on the commission? I don't think there's a particular thing that makes me want to serve on this commission other than continuing to serve this community. I've served this community for a lot of years in many different ways, and you can see on my application the different ways where I've volunteered and served throughout our community in different committees and different involvements. And so there's no personal agenda that I hope to accomplish. I'm not a personal agenda guy. I'm a community agenda guy. One of the mottos that I have for myself and for the place where I work, the church where I work, is for the Sioux. And that takes agenda-free leadership to do that. And that's something as a commissioner I think that I want to strive for. So again, there's nothing in particular. My personal interest just comes from stemming from continuing to want to serve this community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Same question for Scott Marble,
Yeah, I don't have to ask it again, right?
unless
I
they
don't have
want.
to ask it again. Do I, or do you want it?
Sure, go ahead.
Sure, okay.
You got the radio voice.
Part 1.
I like listening to him talk.
I have a radio face. It's too bad. Does your interest in serving on the city commission stem from a personal interest or goal? That is part 1.
I honestly would have to say that it would be a personal interest. I would like to get involved with more things in the community. I would like to help out. I'm pretty open to almost anything. I'm a very hard worker, and I'm very dedicated to the city of Sault Ste. Marie.
Secondly, and thirdly, is there something in particular that you hope to accomplish while serving on the city commission, and why is serving on the commission important to you?
I really don't have a personal agenda for anything being on the commission. I would just like to get more involved with the community, I would like to learn more about the commission and how it's run. And that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you. Rick Miller, does your interest in serving on the city commission stem from a personal interest or goal?
A personal interest. I probably don't have a specific goal besides becoming a city commissioner.
Is there something in particular you hope to accomplish while serving on the city commission, and why is serving on the commission important to you?
I wouldn't say there's anything specifically that I would like to accomplish. I would like to accomplish a lot of things. I think that that's essentially what we're all here to do, is accomplish things. And I think that serving on the commission is important to me because I really think that I can make a difference in my community, and I think that I can bring the skills and abilities that I have to bear on projects that are meaningful to me and the future of myself, my family, and the community.
Can you name one?
Name one what?
Can you name, one of these projects that is important to you?
Specifically related to city
Well,
commission?
Well, yeah, because that was kind of the question. Well, you know what? It wouldn't be fair for me to ask you to elaborate further, I would suppose. So, my apologies. Andrew Rubenstein, does your interest in serving on the city commission stem from a personal interest or goal? And is there something in particular you hope to accomplish while serving on the city commission, and why is serving on the commission important to you?
So no specific agenda or reason for running. For me, my wife and I chose to move back here. She's from here originally. I've been coming up here with her for the last 10 years. So we had the chance to live really anywhere in the country that we wanted. Decided to move back here. We wanted to be close to family, and really jumped 2 feet in, and kind of dove into everything we possibly could, to really give back to the community and give our kids a better future here in the city of Sault Ste. Marie.
Okay. Tim?
Thank you. Okay, I guess we're going to start with Mr. Marble on this.
Correct.
Correct?
Yep.
Okay, you ready? Here we go.
All right.
The city commission must render decisions regarding and implementing policies and or programs. Some of them might be controversial. How might you prepare to make such a decision?
First of all, I'd have to investigate it a little bit further probably, and I would probably make the best decision that I felt in my heart and in my mind was best for the city of Sault Ste. Marie.
Okay, great, thank you. Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Okay, the city commission must render decisions regarding and implementing on policy and programs that may be somewhat controversial. How might you prepare to make such a decision?
Probably by talking to my fellow commissioners and, as Scott said, doing some research on the subject. Ultimately, maybe talking to people outside of the commission as well and finding out how other people feel about it before coming to a conclusion myself, and then trying to do the best job to smooth things over.
Okay, great, thank you. Mr. Rubenstein. The city commission must render decisions regarding the implementation of policies and or programs that might be somewhat controversial. How might you prepare to make such a decision?
So for me, it's about communication, right? And how are we gonna communicate that decision? Because no matter what, I always say you could hand someone a $100 bill and you're gonna find somebody who you're gonna upset. So how are we gonna communicate that decision? And then before that, getting a feel for not just the commission, but for the city and its residents and how they feel about the topic, and then taking that back and figuring out, all right, what's the best way to communicate it? And then making sure we're on the same page too, because once you make that decision, you gotta own it, right or wrong.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Habusta.
Thank you. I think as a school board member, a longtime school board member, I think there are three important aspects that I've looked at when making controversial decisions. The first is understanding the budget. So many times controversial decisions revolve around a budget and a finance process. So knowing and understanding a budget, I think, is important in order to make good decisions. Secondly, I want to understand the role. My role as a commissioner and the people I represent. I want to be able to understand and know them so I can make the best decision for them. And finally, I want to understand the community impact. What will that controversial decision, what impact will it have on all aspects of our community? So those three things are really important for me to look at when looking at a controversial decision: the budget, my role, and the community impact.
Thank you.
All right, with this one, we will start with Mr. Rick Miller. What are the three greatest strengths of the city?
I only get to choose three.
Yeah.
I think some of the three greatest strengths would be definitely the longstanding history of the city. I think that can definitely be a strength that there's been a longstanding community here that has a very storied and great past. Another strength of the city, I believe, is that we're capable of overcoming hardship. Just by the necessity of living this far north, dealing with the winters and stuff like that, we definitely have some skills in persevering. So I think that's a great strength. And the last part, I feel like, is the smallness of our community and the beauty of the area lend a lot to keeping a close community that I think does care about each other.
Thank you. Yep, next is Mr. Andrew Rubenstein.
Yeah, so for the three biggest strengths, I think it's easy to see the passion of everyone who lives here, whether you moved here a few years ago like myself, or whether you're from here. Everyone has something here that they're extremely passionate about. The second, I would say, is how tight-knit the community is. It's very easy to see whether it's somebody celebrating something or a loss, how everyone kind of rallies around each other and comes together. And then the third, and the biggest thing I've seen, having moved here just a few years ago and having spent probably 6 years trying to move back here, is you can really do anything you want here. Because it is a smaller town, it affords a lot more opportunities to build a business or get involved in something, where in bigger cities, sometimes that's a little bit more difficult.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Stephen Abusta.
I'm going to say the mayor.
Pardon? That was Dave Raymond.
Yeah, I'm going to say the mayor.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me write that down, sorry.
No, I think there are a lot of great things about our city. I think there are some wonderful things. The first thing I would add, I would just echo what has been said, is about our residents. I think our residents are a huge strength of this community. The closeness, the resiliency. When there is somebody in need, the community is so quick to jump in, to help, to serve, to celebrate, whatever that looks like. So I would say our residents. I would also add our community servants as a strength of our community. I love that I can haul bags of mulch downtown and be surrounded with people who are just coming out to fill water in the rain and do things that just need to be done in our community. We have a great group of community servants and community volunteers. I think it is an absolute strength of our community. And then the final thing I would just add is one of the strengths of our community is I think we are an excellent place to raise a family. I took my family away from this community thinking that I would be going to a bigger city and have more advantages to raise my family. We quickly came back to this community recognizing that our school system is wonderful, our governmental system is top-notch. There are just many aspects about raising our family here, from affordability to housing to just many great things that make this place a wonderful town to raise a family. So I would add that as one of the strengths of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, and Mr. Scott Marvel.
I would have to agree with Rick on the history of our town. We have a great great history. That's one of our strengths. Another one of our strengths is the community, like everyone said, about how everybody goes out of their way to help everybody, whether it be, like he said, bringing water to us when we're doing stuff. Somebody dies in your family and they're all right there, rallying around you. And the third thing I believe is that family is a great thing. It's a great place to raise a family. It's a great place to have. I'm very lucky because my whole family lives in the community and has lived here. So I'm very fortunate that we've all lived here. We've all been able to live here. And with the perseverance of everything that we all have in this area, we've made it and we're all here. So.
All right, thank you very much, everybody. Commissioner Twardy.
Commissioner Twardy, Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor Pro Tem Twardy.
All right, so we are going to start with Andrew Rubenstein. So question number 4 is, what do you believe is the single most compelling issue facing the city of Sault Ste. Marie?
So for me, and it's because I'm pretty directly involved with it as a property owner and landlord, the housing issue here. I think it is worse than people even realize, the shortage that we have. So anytime we list something for rent, we're inundated with calls and emails. We're on the community action list, we're on the Coast Guard list, and we're constantly getting calls, and we just don't have places to rent, and most people don't. Friends who are landlords run into the same thing. And then those looking to move to the community to buy run into the same issue. When we moved here 3 years ago, we had to move here on a relatively short notice, and it was extremely difficult to find something to purchase. So it goes to, if we want the city to grow and our population to grow, we have to have places for people to live, and quality places for people to live too, is equally important, and what we run into as an issue.
Great, thank you very much. We'll go to Stephen Habusta. Do you want me to repeat the question?
No, that's okay, because I completely agree with Andrew's answer. I think one of the biggest things that is hitting our community right now is the affordable housing. I think the state of Michigan did not do us any favors with the Airbnb and not allowing local residencies to control that market. And so that's one of the things that I would love to be part of as part of the commission, is just being an active voice to the state on issues like that, so that we can create avenues for more affordable housing in our community and open up affordable housing as well. So that's something that I think is a huge issue. I just had today a gentleman come into my office, and he has been looking. He's a family of 5 living with his parents in a 2-bedroom trailer. And that's the reality of what is happening all across our community right now, that we need to be able to work to set policies, procedures, and budgets to help solve that issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Scotty, do you want me to repeat it?
No, I'm going to have to agree with the 3 of them as well. It's the housing. If we're going to continue to want to make our city grow and our community grow, we're going to have to do something about housing. We need to get more affordable housing in the Sioux, and we also need to expand maybe some of our avenues, and that's something that I would really like to get involved with.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Rick?
All right. I think one of the biggest issues or problems that's going to be facing the city is money. The reason I think that it's money is because of the way that the inflation is hitting the economy and the price of things are going up. These guys are talking about the housing issue and stuff like that. And you have 100-year-old homes in the city all over the place, and in very old infrastructure. It's aging, and it costs a lot of money to maintain that, to bring it back up, to be able to make it livable for people or usable. And so I think that's going to become even more expensive in the future as the inflation issue starts to skyrocket. And the city doesn't necessarily have a lot of room to, just come up with a bunch of new money or something like that. So I think that's going to be a big issue to address these other problems. It just comes down to, how are we going to get the money to pay for it? So I don't really know where that starts, but that's my answer.
Okay. Can I just ask him to so lack of money coming from where?
I think that's my point, is that, there's money, in the city. Obviously, I was hearing you guys were talking about the budget and stuff like that, and how we're actually, doing good on our budget compared to like Marquette. But it's going to take, more money, like you guys are talking about, demolishing the whole pump house and stuff like that. And so, why does that have to happen? It's because there wasn't enough money or energy or something to be able to put into these places. And there's other, large buildings like the Brown Street project, the building that you guys were talking about the last time, where you have to essentially help them out and give them more money in order to meet their goal so that they can renovate a beautiful city or a beautiful building in the city. So, I mean, where does that money come from? How do we get that?
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Thank you. Commissioner Miller?
Thank you, Your Honor. So we're going back to Stephen then, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Habusta. If this question says if elected, but tonight, if appointed, what one thing would you like to see improved in the community that is not currently being addressed?
Thank you, Commissioner. One of the things that I would like to see improved upon is I would love to see, and again, I think this all comes back to knowing my role and understanding my role as a commissioner. My role is not to run the city as commissioner. That's the city manager's job. My job as a commissioner is set policy, procedures, and budgets that effectively operate the city. I think one of the areas where the city can improve is upon our policies and procedures for our own employees. I would love to see those procedures improved upon, where we are providing better avenues for our local employees to see advancement within their career, whether that's through training within their position, whether that's through opportunities within moving up departmentally. I think that's an area where we can see improvement, and I would love to help set policies, procedures, and budgets to help do that.
Thank you. Mr. Marble, if appointed tonight, what one thing would you like to see improved in the community that is not currently being addressed?
Well, I think there's quite a few of them, and like I said, like Steve said, with the policies and procedures of where my standing is, that's not a decision that I could make right away. I do know that there has been a lot of improvements in our downtown area, and I think that our downtown area is one area that needs some improvement. I think that there's a lot of things that we could be doing in our area that we're just not getting accomplished. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so one area
So to
that's-
Mr. Miller, would you like me to repeat the question?
It's one area that's not being addressed that
Yeah.
I would like to see addressed.
Yeah.
My area would probably have to do with family activities. I think it is being addressed, but I would like to, definitely something that's near to me. I have a 18-month daughter at home, and so I've finally got this really unique, perspective on what it's like to raise kids and stuff like that. Lots of fun, but in here in our community, it can be quite difficult, especially during the winter months, to find access to places to be able to take your young children. And the object of the community is obviously to obtain and maintain families in this community and stuff like that. And it's very difficult to keep people from moving out of this area when you're not necessarily offering them a lot of activities that they can go and do with their children. So that's one area that I would like to see change.
Thank you. Mr. Rubenstein, would you like me to repeat it?
Sure.
I'll have to turn the page. I remember the question. If appointed tonight, what's one thing that you would like to see improved upon that we're not doing currently? Ha-ha.
So similar to Rick here, not necessarily activities, but doing what we can to attract young families. So when my wife and I were bouncing around the country, we did not have kids. So it was very easy for us to say, all right, we can move wherever we want. Now with a 1.5 and a 3.5-year-old, We look around and we're trying to recruit our friends to come back here. So what those things are outside of activities, I couldn't necessarily say, but being in the role, and even not being in the role, researching, okay, what are other cities doing to attract younger families outside of just offering activities, building a splash pad, doing those types of things, because that's kind of the lifeblood and kind of leads into everything else. Housing leads into that. So yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner Baspas Rath. Of course you do.
That's a
You're
whole
the-
page.
You're the one that loves to read so much, so.
And of course, it would be when I'm going first.
Mike's on.
Yes.
I was gonna,
Yeah. Really?
thanks, Robin.
Sure, that's a
Oh,
great
I
idea.
get a cheat sheet.
I was wondering.
You still
how
have to
I was
read it
gonna
once.
I was going through like. Okay. Here we go. Mr. Marble. Property tax revenue from the local millage is the primary source of revenue for the city of Sault Ste. Marie. What response is most reflective of your position? A, the millage rate is too high and must be lowered even if it means sacrificing services to citizens. B, the millage rate is too low and should be raised in order to provide more services to citizens. C, the millage rate should be marginally adjusted either up or down in reaction to annual fluctuations in city revenues and/or spending priorities established by the City Commission and in conjunction with reasonable spending cuts. D, the millage rate should stay where it is. If necessary to balance the budget, services should be cut in order to keep the millage at the current rate.
Well, that's not an easy question to answer, but I'm going to definitely say C. Did you want me to read my answer?
No.
No.
fine.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we ask the candidates to elaborate?
Sure. If they wish to.
Well, I pretty much think that the answer says it all. I believe that it should, the spending priorities should be established by the commission, and it should be in conjunction with reasonable spending costs. I mean, I think that's pretty, where I stand on that.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, thank you. I would have to say a combination of C and D. Obviously, nobody wants to raise the millage and start charging a bunch of people a bunch of extra money, especially, not just because we have things that we want to spend money on. But as I was saying earlier, it does take money in order to make change, and we need to be able to adjust for that. So I would say both C and D would be something that I would reflect my position.
Thank you. Mr. Rubenstein?
So for me, it would also be C. I think you have to be willing to adjust. None of us knew a global pandemic was going to come in 2020. So you have no idea what the future is going to hold. But I also think it goes back to what I talked about before, right? Attracting families to come here, attracting people to move here, figuring out the housing situation, because that's going to uncap housing as people move here and buy new properties and increase the revenue for the city. So I think there's a lot we can do as a city to not just adjust on the fly, but to naturally allow the tax revenue to increase versus forcing it up or down by being reactive to things.
Thank you. Mr. Habusta?
Sorry. No, you're fine. I fluctuate between answer C and answer D, and the reason why is I think that in order to make this decision, a conversation it needs to happen between myself or the commission and the city manager to understand where we're at on our budget, where we are at on our services, and where we're at on our margin. Currently, the city is making budget, and so I think that presents a certain place for us. However, I think that we also need to have a conversation with the people we represent to see whether or not a change, a marginal adjustment is even something that the community can sustain. Again, if we do not want to lose families and we're making decisions to marginally adjust up and we cannot sustain that, then we run into major issues. But at the same point, if we're not making budget and we're losing a $14 million fund like the city of Marquette, we're also in major issues. So I think there has to be some flexibility to be able to marginally adjust, but I also think that needs to come as a conversation between the city manager and the administration of the city and the commissioners, as well as the commissioners, in conversation with the people they represent. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Now we'll go back over to Commissioner Bauer.
And we start with Rick Miller. What is the most important decision you have made recently?
It's pretty easy for me. I just started a new job, so the decision to start that wasn't very important to me. It's definitely changed, my plan. So I'm very happy with my new position, and I'm really glad I started a job at Precision Edge in their engineering department there. So the decision to finally, put in an application and do the interview and accept the job was definitely the most important decision I've made recently. Thank you.
For me and for my family, it was the decision to stay. So we've had a lot of personal loss really over the last year between family and friends. So for us, it was the decision to stay in Sault Ste. Marie and really try to plant our roots here as hard as we can and make this the best possible place we can for our kids and for the community. I think for myself, it was a decision to run for commission. It's a decision to just expand upon, to potentially move from serving as a school board member into a city commission role. And each decision I make on a school board level, I see as very important. So I understand the importance of the decision made around this room. And so the decision to run is a decision I didn't take lightly. It's a decision I took with prayer and counsel. And I think it's a really important decision and a step in my life. Thank you.
I would have to say mine would be I just bought a new house. Right now during the recession time and everything, it's kind of hard to find one. But I lucked out and I found a great house, and I'm very happy to be where I'm at. The other decision that I've also made was, like Steve said, was my decision to run for city commission. I've thought about running for years and years and years, but it just never seemed to be the right time. And for some reason, this just felt like it was the right time to do it. And it was a very, very, very big decision. I talked to a lot of family. I met with them. I spoke with them, and they all said to me, "You got this. Go for it." So here I am.
All right, moving on to Commissioner Talentino.
Okay. Thank you. Have you read the city's most recent budget? And what do you think?
And who's first?
Mr. Rubenstein, I'm sorry.
I have not read it in full, but I have looked at it. I think it's interesting. I think we're definitely strapped in a lot of areas, like a lot of other cities. It's interesting looking at a lot of the recreation side of things and seeing how much we actually spend there, especially with young kids being keenly aware of all that. So yeah, I guess interesting is the best word once I really started looking at it, but I have not looked at the entire budget.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Habusta.
Like Andrew, I haven't read all 40 pages of the budget, but I have examined it and looked over it, and definitely I find the first thing I find that it's balanced, which I think is encouraging as a resident of the city that we have an administration who's balancing our budget, and I think that is something that is encouraging. So I guess that's my word. Well, we live in hard times. It's also encouraging to know what administration is doing with the tools that we've given them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Marble.
Thank you. I haven't read all the pages either. I've looked it over. I've also feel like both of them, interesting. It's very interesting. and it's very balanced. I noticed that. There are some areas that need to, I can see that are a little bit, but I have to be honest, I haven't read the whole thing.
Okay, great, thank you. Mr. Miller?
I have to be honest, I haven't really looked at it at all.
Okay,
That's all I have to say.
that's fine, thank you.
All right, you can all breathe a sigh of relief. That was the final question. So now, do
Sorry.
you want to, you can either stay there or take your seats. We're going to take about 5 minutes so that we can run through our arithmetic and review our notes. And then we will have a discussion at that point. So we'll stay live, I guess, but live in the meeting, but we'll take about 5 minutes. All right, everybody. How's everybody doing? Need more time? Is it a procedural question or a? You can ask it publicly. Sure.
Robin, I got a question for you. Commissioner Bauer brought up Monday night that for some reason or other, Mr. Miller's signature was bumped off his petitions because of why? I can't remember what you said, or I didn't know if we came to a resolution on it.
So I researched it Tuesday morning following the commission meeting, and Mr. Miller registered or updated his voter registration to the city on April 21st, which was after the commission filing deadline, and that's why his signature did not count on Commissioner Bauer's petition.
And was registered to vote where before?
It was outside of the city.
But it says here he's lived here for 7 years. Okay, thank you.
But he is a registered voter and valid candidate, so. All right, so what we will do now is we will go, I think we'll bounce around the commission and see if we can get everybody's thoughts on their number one pick and see if we have kind of a global consensus. If not, then we'll go to what your number one and number two picks are, and that will give us an indication. So we'll start alphabetically.
With
Let's
Jake.
start out with, yeah. We'll start on the left with Commissioner Bauer, and then we'll bounce
Wow.
over to Commissioner Bosbus-Rath.
It's very difficult to go first in this case for me because I thought all four candidates presented themselves very well. If the group comes to a different decision than the name I'm going to say is my first choice, then I'm not going to have a problem going with any of you. I think any of you would do a fine job. And in fact, I really, going into this, and I'm glad that I marked the points on here because I ended up adding them all up in the end because I didn't really think there was any one clear-cut candidate among you that was head and shoulders above the rest. Some highlights and lowlights. The one question that I didn't care for just generally, and it wasn't even the one that none of you have really read the budget, because I don't blame you. If I wasn't on the commission, I probably, unless I had an axe to grind, probably wouldn't read through the whole thing myself either. But the one question that I did have a little bit of an issue with was 6 in regards to property tax revenue, and specifically those of you who said C or D, because that answer is essentially, well, I would raise taxes unless I wouldn't, which actually is not an answer at all. In that case, Scott Marble, even though he didn't really have a reason, specifically that he gave to back C, at least was committal to C, which impressed me as far as that questioning goes. My personal answer to that would be D, that you should keep the taxes the way they are. And of course, there might be people here who disagree, because it's our job to work within that framework, and to make it work. That's part of what we do, right? So anyway, I would say if there's a correct answer for that, it would be D. I've known Rick Miller for quite a while, and I would endorse him wholeheartedly. He is a former employee of mine, not recently, and was a very good employee, and I know that he has what it takes to be a city commissioner. That said, going on points, going into the next to last question, if you're going strictly on points, I actually had Steve Habusta and Andrew Rubenstein, is it Steen or Stein? Yeah. Steen, okay. Just slightly ahead and tied. But the one question that really or the one answer I should say, that really intrigued me, and no offense, Mr. Rubenstein, but the question, the next to last question, which was, what was the most important decision you have made recently? And that was the decision to stay in the Sioux. And I applaud that decision, you know, but it made me think that recently you were thinking about leaving. And in that case, if I have to give a vote right here, right now, I think on that single hair of a basis, I would go with Stephen Habusta, with the caveat, too, that any four of them I will be okay with, which, by the way, is a first, because this is not even the second time. This is probably the I've lost track. This has got to be like the fourth time I've been through this, and this is the first time that I've ever had, you know, candidates like this who have one after another shown to me that they actually do have what it takes and have some sort of clue to fill a vacancy on city commission, you know. But that is as complete of an answer as I can give.
Thanks, Commissioner.
Thank you.
And we'll go alphabetical. So Commissioner Bospas-Rath, we'll go bounce over to you next.
Hello,
So
gentlemen.
Your top choice.
All right. I applaud all of you. You did amazing. It's really hard to answer questions off the fly, and you guys all did amazing. Going off points, and I'm going to keep it short because I think any one of you would be great. So I'm going to say that right away. Going off points, I do have Andrew Rubenstein as my number one pick for points. So good job. But like Commissioner Bauer said, you guys all did great, and I would support any of you. So, but my number one pick is Andrew Rubenstein. Thanks,
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Miller.
Thank you, Your Honor. And it's very nice that all four of you were here this evening. I think you all did great. Most of your answers were okay. I could have used an elaboration on maybe a couple more of them. I didn't really do a point system. I'm just kind of looking at your applications and listening to your answers to your questions. I think the first thing is I've got all four of your applications here, and I see Andrew Rubenstein put his in on May 19th. Everybody else did May 31st. That doesn't mean anything, but maybe he wants it a little bit more. He was thinking about it a little bit more. He did it a little bit earlier than everyone else. No disrespect to Mr. Marble or Stephen Habusta, but you gentlemen are both on the ballot for November, correct? So if I'm not mistaken, if they get a four-year term, if they get one of the four-year terms in November, they'll have to vacate this two-year term, and we'll have to go through this process again.
So Mr. Rubenstein is also on the ballot.
He is? Okay.
Yeah, so three of the four of them on there. And just as a side note, so if one of the three that are on the ballot tonight win the election, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I point Robin, so they're going to take over Commissioner Collins' seat. So they'll have Commissioner Collins' two-year term to fill. If one of them wins the election in November, they'll have a choice to either take their four-year appointment through the election, or they could stay in that two-year seat. And if they do opt to take their four-year election that they won, then yes, that would fill, or that would create a vacancy in that seat again, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Correct?
Mr. Rubenstein, I apologize. I didn't know you were on the ballot for November. I know how many was on the ballot, but I guess I overlooked your name when I looked at it. I apologize. Well, I certainly wouldn't want to go through this process again if one of these gentlemen gets a seat, a four-year seat. And Mr. Rubenstein, I really enjoyed your answers to your questions. And I think Mr. Rubenstein would be my number one right now would be Andrew Rubenstein. No disrespect to the other three, you all did great. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Next, we'll go to Commissioner Talentino.
Thank you, Your
Eight-four,
Honor.
right?
I think all of my fellow commissioners really know how I feel about, going through this process. I believe I'm the only one sitting around this dais that has actually been in your seats out there, okay? So I want you to fully understand that. I think the city has a spot, hopefully, for every one of you somewhere down the line, okay? I really do. And I've always said, me not getting the appointment that night was probably the best thing, honestly, that ever happened to me as a commissioner. And I'm not going to point at any people around here that didn't pick me, but that's kind of one of our little freestanding jokes. But believe me when, yeah. But believe me when I tell you, it's going to make you a stronger commissioner actually running through the process, okay? No disrespect, Mr. Miller. Actually, I hope to see you eventually run. I think you would be a great addition, up here or even in some other seat inside the city, okay? It's good to see fresh faces. I think it's a positive thing. Like I said, I'm not exactly a fan of this, but believe me, stick with it, go through the election process, you are gonna learn so much, and it will make you, in the long run, I feel, an absolute better commissioner down the road. That being said, I'm really not gonna get into the whole numbers game. I think all of you did a great job, fantastic. My number one pick is gonna be Mr. Rubenstein. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Mayor Pro Tem Twardy.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Well, first of all four of you did a fantastic job on the microphone, and the reason that we have one of our residents in our audience right now is because she cannot hear on the TV, and because people don't speak clearly into the microphone. So the fact that any four of you might be sitting here at the next meeting is amazing, because she might be able to start watching the meetings at home, but we do love seeing her here. We love seeing you here. We love seeing you here. That being said, all four of you are just wonderful, wonderful gentlemen. And I think it's going to be a great election. I can't wait for everybody to learn, everybody to get out there, knock some doors, start meeting the people who are going to be voting for you. I grew up with one of you, Scotty. I've known you ever since we were little kids. Our fathers worked together, so you're near and dear to my heart. Everybody in town, of course, loves you. I do think that, so right now Andrew Rubenstein is also my pick, simply because he's been serving on a committee within the city, and he does understand a little bit about what it takes to be at this dais. And I appreciate that fact a lot. And I do want people to start getting involved a little bit more at the lower level, and then work your way up to the city commission. I mean, we have a lot of vacancies on a lot of our committees, and we're always looking for residents to get more involved and volunteer at that level. That being said, I'm not going to go any further, but at this point right now, Andrew Rubenstein is also my pick. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I agree with everybody on the dais. I think that you all four did an excellent job. I know you all personally, and you would be, I'd be proud to serve with you as commissioners. Based on the materials and the interview and the answers, my statistical answer was Rubenstein, and the three of you were right nipping on his tail. So that's where mine was too. So great job to all of you. Proud of the job you did, and it looks like we do have consensus. I don't know if there's anybody at the dais that would like to make a motion based on the information that you have seen as to who you would like to make a motion to move forward as commissioner. Commissioner Miller.
Thank you,
Or any
Your Honor.
questions, sorry.
Oh, no, I'd like to make the motion if that's all right. I move that we appoint Andrew Rubenstein to the Sault Ste. Marie City Commission to replace the recently departed Mr. Collins, not passed away, but.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any questions or comments before we have a roll call vote? A roll call vote, please.
Mayor Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Bauer,
Yes.
Commissioner Bospis Rath,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Tuarty.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much and congratulations. Moving into C, which is matters presented by the public. Is there anybody in the audience or at the table that has any questions or comments for us at this time? Seeing none. Matters presented by the city commission. Anybody on the city commission have any, knowing that we did this 2 days ago? Seeing none, Commissioner Tuarty, would you like to make the E, closing a meeting?
Motion to adjourn.